Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. Today's lecture will be given by Gail Godreau, and Gail is a career coach at Career and Experiential Learning. So take it away, Gail.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you. Hello. Appreciate that. And I'm so excited I can remove this. I'm far enough away. So I do want to check. Can everybody hear me in the back? Awesome. Thumbs up, virtual or otherwise. I love it. So, and thank you, Tanya, for the introduction and the opportunity to be here. I have to say that one of the things I'm always saying is how important it is for students to learn about career. So anytime I encounter faculty who are making that happen, that is amazing. And, you know, especially when there's even more than one session on it, it's so important for all of you. And frankly, you know, the earlier in your program you hear about it, the better. So I love that you're here. I love that we've been invited. And yes, I am Gail Godreau. I'm a career and employment coach at the Career and Experiential Learning in the Student Center, 4th floor. So first of all, I just want you to know you have access to us right now. You could be messaging us or setting up appointments as soon as you leave this class. Please don't do it while you're here. And we are here for you. And part of what we want to share is some of the many resources that are here for you. Has anybody here done anything with career and experiential learning so far? Had any interactions with us? Sweet. 1+ faculty. Okay, that is awesome. And you know what? It's all good, but know that we're here for you. And I did have the opportunity to catch Tuesday's lecture just before I came over here, actually. So I am so glad to hear you know, some of the things that were shared and the reasons why you want to connect with us. So this is also a 360 moment for me because I did my undergrad and did take psychology, first level. But my undergrad was in business. Now that happened to be a DAL, but then I came here for my master's in the business school. So I have an MBA from St. Mary's. We didn't have this building, mind you, but that's all good. So thank you again for the invitation, Tanya. And what I will say is that some of what's in my presentation is a duplication of what you heard Tuesday. I didn't know that when I first developed the presentation, but the good news is we are synchronized. So it definitely should layer on top of what you've already heard and, you know, just kind of maybe refresh some of what you heard then as well. So please do feel free to ask any questions or interject your thoughts. I will say we have a fair bit to cover here today, and I'm going to try to get through as much as I can. But again, some pieces that you have already heard, I might just kind of jump over quickly. Does that work for everybody so far? Awesome. So we'll zip squeal past this. So what can you do with your psychology degree? Is that essentially what we're here to learn? What could I do with a psych degree, or any degree for that matter, but assuming that you're in psychology and you might continue in that field, does that question come to mind often? It's like, what can I do after this? This is interesting. Where from here? Or perhaps, like me, your parents might be saying, what do you do with that degree anyway? Does that sound familiar? Not so much. Interesting. I got that when I studied business. There's a lot of application for it. So the first question, and again, this layers on top of what you heard on Tuesday, is what do you want to do with your degree and what do you want to do in general? So why did you get into this course? You know, what prompted you to study psychology in particular? What about it interested you? Different people here will have different reasons for taking it. So what specifically interested you in the course? How do you want to help people? Assuming that is kind of part of your motivation. How do you want to help them? And who do you want to help? Each of you could have sort of a different, I'll use business language, but a target audience for who it is you want to support through your training and education. What are your strengths or your superpowers? And again, I know that that was covered on Tuesday to a degree, right? So what are your superpowers? That's important to know. And then what issues or challenges do you care most about? And again, referring back to the presentation on Tuesday, we're talking about your values for the most part. What are the values that excite you? And I know the question was also posed about, what can you not tolerate or not stand? Because the opposite of that illuminates your values. So there's so much that goes into this. It's not a straight, well, I'm studying this, therefore I'll do that. And this is one of my kind of core philosophies, is you need to start with your why, right? And so this book is an amazing book if you're looking for something to read, in addition to your texts. Start with Why by Simon Sinek is an amazing book because it helps you to go from why outward instead of from what inward. So what are you going to do? I'm going to do this job. And then you have to kind of follow the path inward to say, well, why am I doing this? Is it aligned with my values, my interests, my strengths, all of those things? So, and I know you learned about a job, employment, career, and a calling or purpose or mission. So you really want to think about what is that big picture that I want to achieve, and then find the path or paths that will get you there. So what is your why? This also, I want to kind of underscore for you, education. Some people say, well, why do I need an education? Why do I need a degree versus a diploma? Why this program? But it's not the learning of facts that matters. It's the training of the mind to think. That is really important. And you're going to hear that come back later on in this lecture today. And that was Albert Einstein. I didn't make that up. So what can you do with your psychology degree? The irony is I was looking for an image for this. I found this online and then I saw it in your textbook. So this is straight from your textbook. And these are some options. And I know, again, you covered more than this on Tuesday, but it's not the whole picture, right? So your degree does matter. There is no doubt about it. Having a degree matters. So some of you will proceed through this path and you will say, I'm going to take the next level, the next, and it's going to be kind of a straight line. You might even go to grad school, but some of you will say, okay, I love that piece. Now I'm going to add that piece in. Then I'm going to do a sharp right turn and go that way. Your degree matters. So even if you choose a different direction, the degree does matter. The employers that you will be talking with will be interested in knowing that you have a degree, and then we help make your degree relevant to what it is they're looking for. And that's part of our superpowers in the career services group. So it matters, and this is good news. So how many of you in your family, you've been told, just, get a job, like get your education, get a job, go through and, put your nose to the grindstone, so to speak, put your head down, power through your career, and then you retire. Anybody heard that? It's kind of a path, a little bit, not a lot, but I'll tell you, that is what my generation heard. It's, get a job, keep a job, be glad you have a job. But that was when we were in what we call the experience-based economy. So it mattered what job you had, what title you had, what employer you worked with. Now we're in what's called a skills-based economy. This is important because every single one of you has skills. Anybody here not yet have paid employment in their background? You guys are amazing. Wow. I often encounter students who don't have paid employment yet, and they say, I have no skills. And that is not true. We need to articulate the difference there. What they have, they may have volunteer experience. They certainly have academic experience. You have so many skills that you're not even really aware of yet and you're not owning. And again, we help you to identify those and articulate them in a way that is relevant to taking your next step. So jobs as an example. So skills-based economy means employers don't care so much about where you worked. Sometimes it matters, right? But they don't care so much about where you worked or what your title was. And sometimes the title has no relevance to the job, right? They care about what skills you developed and demonstrated. So when you work with us, assuming you do, with Career and Experiential Learning, you're going to hear us talk about skills a lot. And again, it's good news because maybe you're not going to get that plum position, but you can still be developing really, really valuable skills. And of course, the second point, they need to be transferable. So we help you to identify how this skill applies in that setting. I worked with a student this morning who's applying for a role in the UK. and they have a criminology degree. And they're like, how do I kind of make the connection between what I've done before and what I want to do now? So that is really what your work will be, is identifying your skills and then connecting the dots for employers or for the path that you want to follow. And again, that is something that we help with. So what do employers want to know? And a lot of you probably know the second piece of this. I'm going to jump to that right away, which is our hard skills. Anybody here familiar with the term hard and soft skills? Yeah, a little bit. Awesome. So, oftentimes employers don't necessarily use that language so that you don't separate your skills according to these categories, like on your resume, but you need to be aware of the categories. So hard skills are those things that can be measured. There's specific things you either do or do not have. So technical skills could come into that area. Your degree, you have it or you don't have it. You don't sort of have it. Specific experience, whether it's work or volunteer or other things, again, your academics, your athletics, societies you're part of. Those are your hard skills. Soft skills at the top, I want to take that and just blow it up like full screen because that is so important. Do not be fooled by the term soft skills, and most of us in this field hate that term because it makes it sound like, oh, that's okay. You don't really have to have it, but you do. And so once you start looking for work and you're looking at job postings, you're going to see these skills or some variation on them over and over and over and over and over again. If you see a job without communication on it, I will be surprised. Same thing with teamwork and the ability to work independently. So those skills under soft here are essential. And I'm willing to bet most of you, if not all of you, have most of those already, right? You're doing coursework, you certainly have time management skills. Maybe you're volunteering as well or working a part-time job. So don't discount those. And that's really where you can shine on your resume and where we can help you articulate how you're different from somebody else in order to put yourself forward for work. And I know I heard it mentioned from Tuesday, and I love this. Your career starts now, right? Career, the big C career, this way for you. Big C career is what you do after you graduate, right? But real career is anything that is kind of impacting your future work or your current work from this day forward and even before today. So when you think of career, don't just think about when I graduate, I'll go see those people and they can help me find a job. You might be looking for a part-time job tomorrow. Or you might say, I've got a little extra time. I think I'll do some volunteering and I want to gain some extra skills. Or maybe you're doing a service learning course. If that language doesn't mean anything to you, I'll cover that a little bit later. But all of those things will build skills for you. And so from this point forward, start to pay attention to what skills you are building and note the context in which you're doing them so that you can refer to that later. But also think about, are there any skills I want to develop? Any that I should, quote unquote, should have or feel that I'd like to have that I don't yet have? And so then you may want to add that into your skill set. But do pay attention to all of the skills you're building from this point forward. So if you were looking for that part-time job, I'm going to start with, again, what do you want to do? Not just what's the job you can get, right? If we have to go to that level, we will, but let's start up here with what you'd enjoy doing. Again, aligned with your values and interests and so on. Just want to check in. Am I going too fast? I know there is a bit to cover here. Is it working for you guys? Perfect. Sweet. Thank you so much. Yes.
I'm thinking another way we could look at soft skills or hard skills is more subjectively determined versus objectively.
Yeah.
So let's say, yes, this person has this experience and yes, they have this education certified, check. But it's kind of harder to assess someone's time management. It's important.
Right.
And there, you can say like someone has bad time management. Or great time management, but it's hard to say, well, how do you measure that? How do you know? But as you say, it is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that. I think I'll use that going forward, if I may, because it really does help you to understand. And so if the hard skills, I would actually put a checkbox right there. It's like you do or you don't have it. There is no gray. And to your point, Tanya, of course, like the soft skills, it's really on a continuum, right? And one person's good soft skills is another person's terrible. And so the context is what's going to matter. Where have you used those soft skills? How have you demonstrated them? So, I don't want to get into long examples only because I know there's a lot coming up, but basically one person's communication might be sending emails, another's might be presenting in front of 100 people, right? That's, two big extremes there, but communication is very subjective and there is a continuum. So we want to help the employer see where you land on that and what you mean by strong communication skills. Okay. So the last thing that you're going to want to be able to share with employers is your character or your personality. Why this matters. And again, I know you heard about values. Values matter so much. Yours matter, the organizations matter. And ultimately you want to fit between the two of them. So the employer is looking for that fit. And, we are thankfully in an age where diversity is being more and more welcomed and invited in organizations. So I want you to understand, fit does not mean being the same, but you have to have some alignment of values in particular in order for that to be a solid working relationship. And I can tell you from personal experience, if there is a misalignment, it is a short-term stint. I've been in a situation, maybe more than one, where my values did not align and I could not stay there. So it really is important to pay attention to. So we talk about this core competencies of career readiness. And that's a big old term, but all it means is there are certain skills that are essential over and over and over again in order to be ready to start and continue in your career. I believe the slides will be made available. Is that correct?
They are.
They are already. Sweet. So I know that's hard to read. I don't expect you guys to read it here, but I'll just highlight them. Critical thinking and problem solving. And sometimes the language will be different, but ultimately that general concept is going to be really, really important. Digital technology, and you guys know it better than any probably, that in the last couple of years, that has become more and more important. So it's even been up-leveled to digital fluency now. So that one's super important. Teamwork or collaboration. And I said earlier, also working independently. So they seem like opposites, but you need to be able to do both. Professionalism or work ethic, maybe your integrity, that type of thing. Global or intercultural fluency. Again, no surprise that in the past couple of years, that has really kind of blown up, right? We work with people anywhere in the world, and I've worked with students, maybe some of you, who have been across the country. We've been on a call together, across the country, I'm sorry, across the world. Oral and written communications, again, always, you need to be able to articulate how you demonstrate that skill. Leadership often is required, not always, but probably more as you're moving forward. And career management. Career management, I do want to spend a second on because it is so important. Again, you may have inherited this information that you do your job, and at some point your boss is going to say, wow, you're doing a great job. Would you like to take this course? Or would you like to go to this conference? Or would you like a promotion? It doesn't really go that way, right? You have to be the one who is watching for things and seeking them out. So if you want further education, you need to identify what the education is, where it is, how much it costs, and then approach your employer typically to see if they might cover it, or if they might allow you some time to do it, or whatever arrangement you can make. But gone are the days of just kind of waiting for someone else to recognize your amazing qualities and offer you the next opportunity. So again, we've talked about articulating your skills. You need to be able to do that. Your knowledge, your strengths, your values, you need to have a sense of self. You then need to find the areas that you're interested in and opportunities for that growth that you want. And you need to take the steps necessary to pursue opportunities. And I did hear again from Tuesday, also to say yes to opportunities. Sometimes they do come to you, and sometimes you might say, oh, that's going to be a bit of work, or that's Saturday. I was going to take Saturday off. So you have to kind of really look at these opportunities and where they might take you. And again, think about skills. What will they give you? The two on the bottom, I really want to bring your attention to. These two have emerged since COVID. So I know we're still in COVID, but since the beginning of COVID, obviously the ability to work remotely Anybody surprised by that one? You've all done it, right? And a lot of employers are still doing that. A lot of employers are not going to go back to full in-person or maybe any in-person. So working remotely and being able to work that tech and be self-managing really, really matters. And the other one, I cannot stress enough, ability to learn or learning to learn. That one is essential. And again, you guys have experienced it. I say you've been in almost like an amazing lab. It's been painful, I know, in some ways, but you've also learned some amazing skills and abilities and qualities that maybe someone who graduated just before COVID never had a chance to put into their toolbox. So the ability to learn and to adapt and to be flexible and to pivot, all of that is extremely important, and it's not going away. You know, so it could be managing new technologies. It could be, how do I work with people that I don't see? How do I build relationships in a new workplace? So the ability to learn, you know, make sure you've got that one. So I heard reference to your superpowers, and I love that. You are the superhero of your own journey, of your story. Nobody else is going to kind of, again, take you along and say, hey, look, there's an opportunity. Do you want that? And over there, you can get some extra education. Do you want some of that? You're the superhero, and you have your superpowers, which again, you may not know now, or maybe you feel like, I don't want to brag. You know, yeah, I know I'm really good at that. Or my friends say I'm good at that, but I'm not sure if it's true. You know, we want to start paying attention to what are those superpowers and how will they take you to that next step that you're interested in. So I'm going to skip over that quote there for the sake of time, but it will be in your handout, so you're welcome to that. Skills. So we cannot talk enough about this. I could do an entire lecture just on that, but again, you know, we need to keep going here. But I would encourage each of you, perhaps after class, to take literally maybe 5 minutes and just jot down some of the skills that you already have. And again, don't be modest about it. You need to be able to know what they are and to be able to put them forward when you're looking for opportunities. And I say work, it could be volunteer experience, it could be to join a society or perhaps lead the student government, the SMUSA. It could be to go to grad school. You need to know what your skills and abilities are. So please do take some time to make note of these. I challenge you to get to 10, and if you can do that, then keep going. But
If you get to 10 as a class,
as an individual.
or I think it'd be a good exercise.
For the whole class to get to 10
just to get in, because I want to be asking students to do some assignment, so a little bit of a warm up.
Yeah,
My skills.
love it. So you're not talking about doing that now, but you're saying as part of the assignment, or?
I would welcome you to if you'd like to.
Okay, all right, well, let's do it really quickly. So just 10 in total then, hey? So who's got a skill? Please don't be shy. Just name a skill that you have. And no duplicates, this is the key. So I go first if I were you. It's like getting a needle. Extra point. Yeah, go ahead.
Better time management skills.
Awesome. Time management. That's maybe help keep me. I will put it up here so we don't get duplicates. Awesome. Oh, this is a little light. If you can't see it, I do apologize.
Awesome colors.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, beautiful. Who's got another one? Yes, please. Communication, right? So glad you grabbed that one. Somebody really needed to. All right, super. Yeah, who else? I thought I saw another hand. Yes, go ahead.
Better self-motivation.
Beautiful. And I'm going to invite you to take off the adjectives. So you have self-motivation.
That's really interesting. Can you elaborate that a little? Like
Just like, I feel like now I'm able to actually like force myself to get out of bed and do stuff. When I was in high school, I kind of would just skip school for the sake of, I didn't want to get out of bed.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you have a word for that?
I would call it self-management. I mean, there's a number of ways we could describe it. Drive, just motivation itself, ambition. Yeah.
Self-management sounds good.
Yeah.
I haven't considered that before, but it sounds really important.
Very, very important, especially in this day and age, because again, there's probably not somebody looking over your shoulder saying, did you get your homework done? Or, did you get that project done for work, or where are you at on that? It's due tomorrow. You're just starting it now. No one's going to do that, right? So you have to manage yourself. Fabulous. That's only 3. Yes.
Active reading.
Active.
Reading.
Sorry, reading or leading?
Reading.
Reading.
Active reading, yes. So it's like reading for, actually, you know what? I'm not going to speak for you. My computer define it. Yes, please.
It's like taking notes and actively like in-depth understanding while reading kind of thing.
Okay, I get you. So obviously, as opposed to passive, you're really engaged in it.
Reading for comprehension.
Yeah, love that. I didn't know that term. Thank you. Who else? Come on, there's enough people here to get to 10. Yes.
Work ethic.
Work ethic, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
Open-mindedness.
Awesome. Open-mindedness. Oops. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 4 more. Yes.
Leadership.
Yes, leadership. Awesome. Who else? 3 more, just 3. Go ahead.
So yeah, I guess a general sense of organization.
Absolutely. Can someone think of one that's related to organization? Let me see. Oh, sorry. Never mind. Yeah, actually, there are others related to organization that maybe you have. You can't use the same one. Go ahead.
Multitasking.
Yes, absolutely. So some of these are related, right? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what I thought. 9. One more.
Active listening skills.
Listening, yes. And I'm going to pick up on what was said back here. Active listening, perhaps, hey? Sometimes people are listening, but they're kind of only half paying attention. So active listening is awesome and better, I guess, or enhanced. Yeah.
I'm going to add that there's been big increases in their test taking skills. So from week to week, I'm seeing improvements in like the minimum grade and the average grade and taking tests.
Awesome. That is a skill. If anybody plans to go into grad school, you need to know how to answer those types of questions that are asked for the GMAT or the LSAT. So being able to take tests well is very important. Awesome. So thank you. We got to 10. So if I were you, I would look at that list and for your own sake, jot down which of these apply to you already, because I've asked you to, maybe look for 10 on your own that apply to you. So I'm willing to bet that there's a lot of overlap here. Cool. This, I know it's pretty non-existent. One moment.
Let me know if you need any.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It's looking like yes.
All right. So let's
Thank
see.
you. I've got it here.
All right. And so why is it not doing that? Let's find out. Let's go here.
I'm just going to actually talk to you guys
Yeah.
while we're bringing this slide up, because I wasn't going to let you have too much time with it anyway. But I just said I'm willing to bet. Thank you so much. You got it. That many of you have these same skills. But what's going to set you apart is, again, how do you articulate your skills? How do you, what context can you provide? Context is everything. So when you say you have a certain skill, I want to know, how have you used it? So again, communication, we talked about that earlier. Thank you. So each one of you will have a different context, a different example of how you've used it. And if you do choose to work with us one-on-one, you're going to hear the word relevant a lot. So what context can you provide the employer that's relevant to what you might be doing in that scenario? And also pay attention to the employer's language. So for example, what was that? Oh, sorry, there was a term in the British conversation this morning. I cannot recall it. But use the language the employer is using if it means the same thing as what you would say. Okay. All right. So here are 3 examples of how you might articulate a skill. I'll just let you have a quick read of that. Okay, so I'm only going to look at the first one. What we recommend is name it first. Don't just kind of hide it in the context, because you need to think about, how can I get this point across to the employer? So teamwork, how did you do that? Well, it was participating in many group projects. More how, working well with others from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and faculties, communicating and collaborating. And then there's an outcome, which is delivering a collective goal within firm deadlines. Pay attention to how I just kind of broke that down, and I don't expect you to remember it just yet. But when you are thinking about your experience, again, it's not just paid employment that matters. So of course, that's sort of in the third box here, but your life experiences. You know, if you've come here from anywhere, you know, Dartmouth and beyond, you know, it takes some skills to get here, right? It takes an ability, and you've learned things along the way. You've adapted, and, you know, I know you heard about resilience, right? So what are some of the skills you've developed as a result of challenges you've faced? Obviously, your classes, you're learning many skills here, test taking being a great example. And any campus or off-campus activities. So again, if you're part of a society on campus, that is building skills, and also look for opportunities to build some skills that will help you going forward. Is this making sense? Yes. Okay. So this is important. It's kind of like, yes, it'll be on the test. SAR stories. You probably have never heard of that, right? SAR stands for situation, action, result. So they're also known as accomplishment statements. So when you are talking about some skills that you've developed, you want to kind of frame it using this structure. So you want to start with a strong action verb, so nothing passive. And then you want to add the situation. So what is the situation you were in? That's the context, right? But don't stop there. That's what a lot of people do on their resumes, for example, or in an interview. You want to add on a couple of more pieces, and this is what will set you apart. So you've got the verb and the action, sorry, the verb and the situation, then add on top of that the actions that you took. What are some steps that you took? What are the skills that you used? What are some qualities you drew on to make it happen? And then what was the result? What's the ultimate outcome that was positive? So I know this is kind of theoretical, so I'll give you this one example here. And it could be someone in this room might have done this, instructed a residence floor tutoring program, or maybe you've participated in one. So how did you do it? Through conducting bi-weekly study groups. Just that extra piece of information tells me so much about you. It tells me that you're reliable, you show up every second week, you work with groups, not individuals, you have communication skills. So there's a lot built into that. And lastly, you were effective. So you increased overall student GPA from 2.9 to 3.3. That's powerful. So I learned so much about you. I learned that you must be a really good communicator in order to be able to do that. So these are experiential stories that we want to hear. And the emphasis is on stories. You need the reader to be able to see you in that role and imagine you doing something. So if you just tell me you have communication skills, do your brains go fuzzy when you hear that? You can't get a picture of it, right? But if you tell me that you used your communication skills in leading summer camps for youth 7 to 10, then I can see you and I can infer certain skills attached to that, additional skills and qualities. So again, the experiential story about something you did achieve or accomplish, the tasks or actions that you performed, and again, focus on skills and qualities, skills, skills, skills. You're going to hear this over and over again. And then again, the outcome. If you can quantify it, even better, assuming the quantification is impressive, right? But this framework, please take note of it, keep it with you. So again, you'll have the slides. You're going to use this over and over and over again whenever you're writing a resume, whenever you're preparing for an interview. This will be so helpful. So I'll give you an example here. You take a read of this. Any thoughts on that, the before and the after? You don't have to put up your hand, but I wonder if anybody here might have had something similar to that first line before today. when someone says, well, what did you do with that job? So why the second one is so much more powerful is because, again, the green is what you did, the blue is how you did it, and the orange is the outcome. It's because, again, I can see you doing that, and I can just fill in the blanks of so many skills and qualities you were showing in doing that work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm also seeing a lot more agency in the app, a lot more personal responsibility and personal agency. Like work just part of a team, you could be an automaton that's just following someone else's orders.
Right.
It's the same thing about your initiative. There's a lot of initiative there.
Absolutely.
Collaborating, these meetings, you communicate on a weekly basis, you ensured completion.
Yes, I love that. And so again, that's the same agency you're going to bring into an interview. You don't want to give away your power, right? So if you were part of a team, okay, what did you do on the team? What did the team accomplish? What did you accomplish? What contribution did you make? So thank you for that. So this one will probably even help you see it better, perhaps. Many of you have done this role, I'm sure. So you see how that second one just gives so much more richness? Yeah, I see one nod. Okay, thank you. Any questions on this? I've certainly had some people say, it looks kind of long, it's not too much, but I would say when you put that on a Word document, fully across the page, it's probably only 2, maybe 2.5 lines of text. And it's longer for sure, but make it what I call nutrient dense. Fill it full of key words that really show the employer what you offer. You'll notice there aren't full sentences either. There's no room for fluff. And, to the point of agency, we don't talk about learned about, unless that's sort of the end of the story. But if you've learned something and you've applied it, talk about the application, talk about the doing, because people can learn things and never ever use it, right? So do own your accomplishments and your contributions and use those strong verbs. So there will be an opportunity to articulate what we call your brand. And that's kind of just who you are as an emerging professional. So has anybody here heard of what's called an elevator pitch? 1, 2, 3. Do I hear 4? Awesome. So an elevator pitch, it sounds kind of weird, but all it is let's say you were in the student center and you were in our office on the 4th floor, you're riding down the elevator just to the 1st floor, and a potential employer is in that elevator and they say, so tell me about yourself. This elevator pitch, it's something you can say between the 4th floor and the 3rd floor that summarizes key information about you. And so it's about you as a professional, right? And obviously being a student is part of that. So the idea is not that you're going to tell them everything in that short elevator ride, but that you want to pique their curiosity. And the ultimate goal is that there will be some follow-up. They will ask you to send something to them. They will ask you to call them. They will say, hey, I don't have my next meeting for a half hour. Do you want to grab a coffee? I'd love to hear more. So you want to get their attention and their curiosity to learn more. Okay. So of course, one scenario again would be a potential employer. I mean, it might be a professor that you're in the elevator with, and maybe you want to be a TA next year. So anybody of influence, essentially, be prepared to talk about yourself as an emerging professional. So these are the kinds of things you want to talk about. And I do want to say, I was actually doing a different class yesterday. Do not expect to have this perfect the first time. This is something you're going to want to script out and then refine, and revise, because who you are this semester is going to be different than who you are next semester or in 3 years. So don't get hung up on making it perfect, but it's really important to start to have a sense of what you would say if someone were to ask you a little bit about yourself. And know that it will evolve over time. Your interests change, your experience changes, everything will change, right? The direction you want to go in, maybe you have a better sense of your values by then. So know that it's okay and it should change. The other thing is, yes, we're going to create a script, but you don't want to deliver it as a script. So get the key points in your brain, and then be able to say it conversationally. So essentially, it's the 5 W's and an H. So who are you? What are your values, your ethics, your interests, your strengths, your goals, all of those kinds of things? Why are you interested in what it is you're doing? So in this case, what you're studying or the work you're heading toward, and what's the difference or impact you want to make? How do you want to do that? So you see there's sort of some crossover between these questions and what we talked about earlier. Again, what skills do you want to use? So I know Tuesday there was conversation about things you're good at and things, just let me put it this way. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you want to do it. So your skills may not align with your interests. So obviously most will, but there may be a certain skill that you don't highlight for this employer, because it's not one you want to take into the work world with you, okay? Or maybe it's not relevant. What is your preferred work environment? You actually get to have a say in this. And yes, this does again assume a level of privilege, but assuming that you have that degree of, I guess, freedom, what is the environment you want to work in? What's the company culture? Do you want to be in an indoor, small organization? Do you want to be out working in the field? Do you want to be in different locations every day? So that comes to the next one. Where do you want to do the work? And which people do you want to attract into your life and want to connect with? So this is a key question, because this employer could say, you know what? I know somebody in this field and I can connect you with them, but they need to know who is it you want to connect with. So you might just say, I'm studying this program and I would love to talk to some people who have done the same program and maybe are 2 years in the workforce to find out what it's really like. And they might say, you know what, we have some people on the team. Let me connect you. So I mentioned there will be a script. So this is essentially the framework you would want to use to tell your story. And it's all about you. You will have this as well in your handout or in the document online. So these are some prompts. Do mix up the language, right? You don't want it to sound scripted and robotic, but use these as prompts. So you can word it differently, but get these key pieces of information. So of course, include your education. That is important. That's what you're doing right now. Your passion, your interests, the things that you want to be doing, the impact, as we talked about, some of your key strengths, and a little bit about experience, like a summary kind of statement, and then where it is you're headed. What is it, the goal that you want to achieve next? And when you do work with us, you'll notice we're going to use the same content for what we call your profile statement on your resume. So you're going to get a lot of use out of the work that you put in on these various pieces. This is my mantra. Life is not linear. I've been saying this for a long time, and I've been using this example. And then I saw, again, it was in your presentation, I believe in your textbook as well, right? Life isn't linear. Your career will not be linear. Maybe 2 of you. I say, once in a while, someone comes out of the womb and they know exactly where they want to go and they go straight there. It's extremely rare. So this graphic is because, if anybody here plays golf, you swing off the tee, you can't even see where the pin is yet. So you can't see what you're aiming for, right? You want to get there, but you don't know the path yet. So you kind of make your best guess. And if you land in the woods, it's okay. You take another shot. And so, I say my career has been like my golf game, a little bit of zigging and zagging. And eventually I start to get a better sense of what I'm interested in, what the options are. And as I get closer, I can even see the pin. So I hope that metaphor works for you, but don't be concerned if you can't see the goal yet. And I know the question was asked the other day, how many of you have a sense of where you want to be, what kind of work you want to do? And many of you don't, and that's okay. My son said to me when he was 10, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And it was keeping him awake at night, literally. I said, me either. So you don't have to have it figured out. You just iterate, right? So you find out this piece, you move toward it, and you just keep discovering and uncovering and moving forward. All that to say, you have options. And honestly, I don't expect you to read this. But it's just to kind of impress upon you, there are so many options available to you. So, I gave you that little teaser at the beginning of the presentation with like maybe 15 potential opportunities for, if you're continuing into psychology, there are so many. And there are more. These are the types of organizations where you might work. And there are more than this. So it's not to overwhelm, it's to hopefully give you a bit of ease to know that, my goodness, like I'm not in a box. I have so many choices of where I want to go and how I want to apply my skills and my interests. So my invitation to you is be what we call a careerpreneur. So of course, it's like entrepreneur, but applying it to your career. So what that means is it comes back to the career management piece that we had in those 8 competencies, that slide I had shown you. You need to be the one at the forefront of your career. You've got your eyes open, you're looking forward, you're looking at what are the opportunities, what are the skills that are required, and again, take skills and add to it. So skills and interests and values and experience. So this is where I want to go. This is what I need to get there. And then it's up to you to fill the gap. So again, the student I worked with this morning did not have strong Excel skills, and it will be needed in the position they're looking for. So they're going to fill that gap, hopefully before they even apply. So you have to be that careerpreneur. You have to be the one who's always looking for, let me put it this way. If you're happy in the role you're in at any given time, you don't have to be on the lookout. But if you're trying to grow that career, as was discussed on Tuesday, then you need to be open and have your eyes open, your radar on for what opportunities are out there, what's coming up. Even before you're interested in looking for work, start monitoring employers you might be interested in. So when you're in 3rd and 4th year, for example, we should be talking about LinkedIn, and you should be monitoring and seeing what's going on out there. And we can help you get labor market information, it's called. So what are the trends? Who are the key employers? All of that kind of thing, so that you can start to plan your route even before you're ready to leave the driveway. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I am going to spend a bit of time. We're actually ahead of schedule. I must be going really fast. So actually, before I do that, any questions at all? Because we're kind of switching gears at this point. Do any of you think you'll be looking for a part-time job in the next 6 months? Or a summer job? Awesome. So this is relevant, I'm hoping. Good. I know some of it, you're kind of just putting it in the back of your brain until it is more relevant, but we want you to have this information so that when you need it, you just kind of pull it out and you say, right, those skills thing, that framework for accomplishment or SAR statements, I know how to use that. And I know I should use it or can use it. Okay, any questions at all? All good. Okay. So I have here a little bit of information about what I call your career team. Don't get too concerned about, capturing all of this because we're going to look at it in living color. So what we do want you to know, though, is there are so many resources available to you. When I went to SMU, these were not here. And so I tell everybody who will listen that these are here, please use them. It's a huge, huge advantage for you. And we've had employers who will see students submitting applications and they'll send them back to us and they'll say, we know they go to SMU, we know they haven't had your services, please help them, like with their resume, their cover letter, their interview skills, whatever it is, and then send them back to us. So they want to kind of get the content and context based on the type of best practices that we share. So this is just the beginning. So the 2 main circles I'm going to be talking about are the career counselors, and I know you've learned a bit about that again on Tuesday. So the way I describe it is they help you with that big picture, right? It's like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What major do I want to pick? Should I switch programs? I'm thinking about going to grad school. You know, what does that look like? All of those big things, or maybe it's just a complete redirect. And career and employment coaches, which is what I am. So as I say, I'm going to actually switch over to another screen here. So I know only a couple of you have had our services. So how many of you are familiar with the platform called Career 360? Awesome, somewhat, okay. A little bit, awesome, thank you. So that's good. I'm glad that you are. And I will say this is kind of your go-to, your home for anything related to career on campus. So the way to get there is simply at the top, you'll see career360.smu.ca. And then you log in as a student with your, I believe it's your S number and password. And it's going to take you to a platform much like this. And apologies, we are going to need to work on that screen. Or not.
Are you able to move the mouse?
No, I'm not able to get it on there.
So, because we're in an extended view,
overlaid.
there's two
Yeah.
monitors. See how it's going to come back here and then it goes way over there. All right.
Thank you. I forgot this step when I was setting it up earlier. This is what it should look like when you go into Career 360. It's a little bit different from my view. So when you go in, you're going to see all of these options down the left-hand side. And essentially, we're going to go through the key messages there, the key pieces, so that you know what's there when you need it. Just trying to get there. Here we are. So the key thing that I want to point out to you is really career appointments. We want to go into that piece. Oopsie daisy. And you've got two options. We've got the left-hand menu. We've also got the boxes here in the center. Either one works. It'll get you to the same place. The piece I first want to talk about is career counseling. So again, I know you guys have learned a bit about career counseling already, but we also have that service to provide to you as the client. So as mentioned, they're all about that big picture. And you will have questions that will be like, I really don't know. You know, we talked about values in class, but I really don't know what mine are. You know, I have a general sense, or I don't know what my strengths are. I've certainly wrestled with that. You know, sometimes other people will see it and they can tell you what they're seeing, but you can't tell what your own are, or your interests, or you don't know what kind of career they might lead you to. So the career counselors are there to answer all of those big picture questions. And actually, I'm going to pull that word answer back. And again, I know that was talked about on Tuesday. They can provide answers, but use your gut as well. Listen and say, does that ring true for me? And it's okay to change your mind or change the answer. And sometimes it will give a group of answers. So always listen to your gut and find out what works for me. And again, it may change over time. We've had people go to career counselors and say, this is the path I want to go on. And then 2 years later, they'll come back and say, never mind. I don't like this program. What can I do from here? And it's entirely normal and okay to switch directions. Stopping, not so much. But if you want to kind of pivot to another direction, that's okay. So the booking of appointments is pretty similar for most of us, and that means you can either go into the calendar and select a time that's open and just book yourself in. You don't need any special authority or approval. You can book by appointment type and by provider. These last two, appointment type specifically with counselors, if you're brand new to our counseling service, just select first appointment and then you're good to go. So it's not too exotic. First appointment versus returning client. Not too much to talk about there. And once you're working with a career counselor, you'll probably stay with that same one over the course of your program, assuming that it's working. Now, sometimes people will choose to move to a different one. One point I do want to make. Some of you might be sitting here thinking, you know what, I really could use that. I have some questions and I'm not sure what I want to do. Our career counselors are extremely busy, as are the coaches. but we're a bit short-staffed right now, so they are booking about a month or so out. So please, book before it's something urgent. Okay, so, but don't let that stop you either. We do want to hear from you. Any questions on the career counselor piece? Okay. I'm going to go to career and employment coaches next, I promise. And it's a little bit hidden. So you guys have now the secret password. It is job search and resume support appointments. It's a bit lengthy, but that's where you'll find us. And I told you it would look much the same. This I do want to point out to you. Our appointment types are very different. And there is a lot under the hood here with career and employment coaches. So we work a lot with students on their resume and cover letter. So know that if you're applying for work, you don't even have to figure all that out on your own. In fact, we offer a weekly webinar for how to do strategic, impactful resumes and cover letters. And I believe every student should have that. They should not go through university without it. But then we offer one-on-one support. So you've gone through the webinar, you've written your best draft, you come to us and you say, okay, I'd love to get some feedback on my resume or cover letter. And we will go through that and provide written feedback within about 24 business hours. That is a plum service. And if you're outside, like in the work world, and you're paying for that, you're going to pay a good amount of money. But this is for you, so you have it now. So please take advantage of it. Certainly when you're actually applying for jobs, include the job posting, because then we can help see how well you're tailoring to that job. And I know some of this language probably makes no sense right now, but when you are looking for work, and many of you said you will be in the next 6 months, this is going to be important, and this service is available. Resume and cover letter. So we're going to come to co-op in a minute, so I'll leave that for a second. But if by chance you are in the co-op program and you have a specific deadline for entrance into the program, we've got a separate bucket for those because we do have to prioritize them.
What's a co-op?
Right, okay, let's go there now. So co-op is short for cooperative education. Anybody here familiar with that? Awesome. Anybody come here because of it? Yes. Often students do. It is, again, an amazing opportunity for you to get what we call experiential learning or experience while you're going through the program. So oftentimes what new grads find is that the toughest thing to get experience is you need experience, right? So how do you get experience before you get experience? So we have some experiential learning options that will help you with that. Co-op is very, very amazing. It is so valuable. And it's the opportunity not just to get some experience, but get experience related to your field of study. And you know those skills and competencies we talked about earlier? They are sort of selected based on that. So if you say, you know, I'm in this program, these are the kind of competencies I want to build, you can find a co-op position that will help you get those skills. So what is a co-op position? What it means is when you do a co-op program, you will add up to 3 work terms into your academic program. So for example, we have people going on a work term right now, right? Then they'll be back in academics in the next semester. So you integrate those 3 work terms into your program. So it takes a little longer to finish your degree, but you graduate with all of this experience. And they might be with 3 different employers that you get to try on for size and see, do I like this? Do I like the big environments? Do I want to be in something small? And so, you know, these are amazing opportunities. I encourage you all to at least think about it. And when you should think about it is ideally the fall of your 2nd year. Sometimes later. There is a point though when you get too far into your degree and you're no longer eligible. So I told you you're welcome to reach out at any time. So down here, co-op, you can book an appointment with our co-op team and they can answer any questions you have. So you might not think about it until next fall, but you could ask questions at any time. Or maybe you're in 3rd year and you say, have I missed the boat? Not necessarily. Did that answer your question? Okay, good question. Anybody have questions on this? Because it is, again, such a huge opportunity. I don't want it to be vague. Anybody think they might want to do a co-op program? Yeah, awesome. Maybe? Yeah, super. So again, feel free to reach out at any time you have a question. So continuing on with the services through the career and employment coaches in no particular order, we can help with grad studies. So when you get to that point, if you're thinking about going on to grad school, we do have some help in identifying what schools might have the programs you're interested in, and with some of the written documents that you need for applications. That said, it is not our main wheelhouse. So we always, always, always direct you to connect with the school, connect with your own faculty and other alumni. Information interview. Anybody know what that is? No worries. It's not a very common term that you would know until you have a reason to know. Essentially, it is an opportunity to learn something about the field you're interested in. So you might say, you know what, I'm really thinking I want to be a forensic psychologist. Well, how do you know what they do? Obviously, you can read about it, but you might want to interview somebody who's in that role and ask them smart questions to get a sense of, is this the field I want to go in? Does this match with my values and my interests and my strengths? Are there any things I should learn before trying to go into that field? So you're interviewing someone else for information. And there is a proper way to do it, which we can certainly help you with. And that's why we have an appointment on it.
And I think it's a really great way to land a job without even trying, because about 20% of people get their jobs by applying for jobs on a classified kind of a board.
Exactly.
And 80% of us get our jobs by some kind of networking, some kind of connection, and you're out there meeting people and making connections. And maybe they could say, hey, you know, we should talk too. And then maybe that person's your next boss.
100%. So I hope you guys all got that. You're exactly right. 80%, excuse me, 80% of jobs are not advertised. So we call that the hidden job market. And so there are ways to access those. And that's coming up in another appointment type, basically on networking. But Tanya's exactly right. If you're doing an information interview, you do not go into that looking for a job. But by definition, you're making an impression, and that person may say, you know, we have a job that would be perfect, or I know someone who's looking for somebody with your background. Or maybe it's a year later and they say, you know what, I remember that student. What was their name again? Oh, I have an email from them. And it can turn into opportunities. So never discount the value of a seemingly short-term innocent conversation. Anything to do with interviewing, please don't figure it out on your own unless that's one of your superpowers. We can help you with what we call information preparation. So just kind of knowing what to expect and how to handle it. Mock interviews. In that case, we actually go through questions that are likely to happen, both generally and often specific to the type of role you're looking for. So take advantage of that. And then the last, oh yeah, we talked just now about information interview, even job search. You know, I've had people say, yeah, you know, excuse me, I've been looking for jobs and now can you help me with my resume? We can help you with the job search too. Excuse me. I chose not to bring my water, bad choice. So again, you can find a job, but we can help you find a job that isn't just a paycheck, but also helps you get the skills and the experience that will set you up for the next opportunity and the one beyond that. Okay. Incidentally, the co-op position, the thing I didn't mention is those positions are paid. So when you do those work terms, you make money, so that can help fund your education, and it's an exchange of value.
Can you get course credit too?
100%. Yeah, that's part of your degree. And when you've done or are doing the co-op program, that should be on your resume, because employers look at that and they say, oh, okay, so this person is building an experience as they're going through. There's an ambition attached to that. Is there something else? You will, if you do the full terms and complete the program, you will also get a certificate that validates your co-op participation. So again, employers pay attention to that. So job search, whether it's just a part-time job or a summer role or an internship, obviously co-op positions, any kind of job search, you don't have to figure it out. We're here to help you. And really our goal is to teach you, not to do it for you. So we're going to give you tools and help you figure it out. It might take a bit of time. You might get it right away. And then you've got those skills and they will serve you for life. So I mentioned LinkedIn earlier. Does anyone here have a LinkedIn profile? Few, awesome. Good for you. Again, this is something you definitely want to be paying attention to, especially as you're furthering your program. There's no harm in doing it now. And I think a lot of people think that's for that big C time, right? When you've got a career, but it's for now and onward. You are emerging professionals. You're studying right now. You could have a profile and start building in some content, and employers can be looking for you, but you also build your network. So speaking of, we can also provide services specific to networking, how to do it well, how to not do it in an icky way. And yesterday, the presentation I did was exclusively on networking. So any of these services, feel free to reach out to one of the career and employment coaches. Same way as before, you can just look in our calendar, see what's open, and grab an appointment. So, sorry, just get my mouse back here.
We have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. So the other pieces I want to make sure you're aware of. A couple of these are not under our umbrella, so I'm going to skip right over those. Job postings. Has anyone here looked for a job on Career 360 before? Yes. Did you find one? No? Okay. I should have stayed with question one. But we do source jobs constantly. We're updating it constantly. And so you don't even have to do that part on your own. We source positions through employers that we have relationships with or new ones, and they want to hear from you guys. So why this matters is you don't have to go out into the abyss and try to find that needle in a haystack. We have currently 142 positions on here that we have sourced for you. And you're welcome to go through and apply and see if there are some that fit your needs. Sometimes there aren't, but don't assume there aren't. And again, this is like a smaller pool that you're in that you can apply for positions with less competition, essentially. So definitely start there. And again, we can help you go beyond that. We have talked about co-op. And then service learning. Do you guys know what that is? Not yet. Okay. So service learning is related to your academics, and it is that some courses that you will see advertised or that you'll see in the calendar are designated as a service learning course. And what that means is there is an aspect of it where you're going out and working for an organization. Key difference here, this is not a paid opportunity, but it is experiential learning, and the work you do is part of your academic program. So again, another opportunity to get some experience. So watch for that designation, and sometimes that experiential piece is optional in that course and sometimes it isn't. So if that matters to you, definitely look into it. And two more, student employment initiative. So we want to make sure everybody has access to valuable employment skills and employment. And so this program is for students who identify as having a disability of some sort. Now, I do have to say it is only for Nova Scotian residents, and that is simply because the funding comes from Nova Scotia. So apologies for that, but we also have outside of our department, the Fred Smithers Center. So if you or someone you know has a disability and maybe would benefit from an accommodation of some sort, please reach out to them. And lastly, co-curricular record. Anybody know about that one? This one I want you to pay attention to right away, and that is because it is an opportunity to capture information on things you might already be doing. So you might be involved in a society or in athletics, whether it's intramural or varsity. Volunteering, absolutely. So what this does is it allows you to collect information on that participation, validate the skills and competencies that you are already building in that, and keep a record of it. And if you do a certain amount of that throughout your program, the university gives you a second certificate in addition to your diploma, and that is worth money. Employers very much pay attention to people who have that background. And just like with the employment, we have opportunities that we source for you, 698 opportunities right now. Okay, some of them are campus jobs as well. So if you're doing anything outside of your classwork, check here and see if you might be able to earn this additional credit for it. I will say one more thing, awards and programs. So we have a service learning, that's a lie, student leadership award on right now. I think it hasn't closed. So keep an eye out for awards that you might be eligible for as well.
Thank you so much, Gail. I really appreciate you doing this. I have a few reminders before you leave. So quiz 6 has been posted as usual. That's due Sunday by 5 p.m. unless you use the extensions process. Next week, there's no class because it is spring break. It will also be the time for the second checkpoint for the early assist program. I am delighted that 82% of the class is heading towards a satisfactory final grade. However, there is an 18% that would end up with like a D or an F, which is not something we want unless the trajectory is changed. So those will be submitted next week as well. And at the end of next week, your part 2 of your assignment is due, and I will be posting that soon, but I'd like to consult with Gail about it first, and it will be on the career unit. Thank you so much for your attention. If you need anything, please reach out.